leg, we bring it up to the shoulder line, we lock palm to palm, or wrist to wrist, and then from here, we get a strong finish. This is arguably the strongest in terms of breaking power. Also pretty good is to lock a semi-senkaku, and then from here, root off the mat and open our knee. Thirdly, we can pass our foot over the top and use it like a grapevine. Second foot comes in like so. And from here, we open up, tap, and we get our bridge. Now, come out the swing question.
For you?
The size. You can also hit a very good arm lock from prone position. I recommend, in the case of prone arm locks, that you lock a full triangle. This time, we're going to put our hand on the mat, and we're going to walk our legs back progressively, like so, until we feel our training partner's elbow is right there in our hip. And it's from here that we can create strong breaking pressure. So once again, we hook over our training partner's arm and draw it outwards. We place our hand down on the floor, and our second hand holds and controls the wrist. We lock up a triangle and we march backwards on our knees until we feel we get that strong breaking pressure. Okay? Again, you have like a semi-senkaku, your shoelaces on your calf muscle. When your opponent goes to twist and turn his thumb, it's really difficult. If my knees are too close to him, that's when he can twist and turn his thumb. So what we want to do is make sure we draw that arm out so when he tries to turn it, it's quite difficult. And then we march backwards on our knees. And then we arch into the strong break. Okay? And that's how we get really good breaking pressure with the use of our top leg. Now, the next big thing we have to look at is the use of the bottom leg. And this is going to bring in one of the most important principles for breaking the arm out of back crucifix. This is the principle of following the thumb.
Excellent.
From back crucifix position, Placido shows thumbs up to the camera. Watch Placido's thumb. Let's put our left foot down for now. Watch Placido's left thumb. In order to break his arm with the method we just looked at, I want his thumb pointing upwards. That's why we put that pressure on our training partner's arm, just like so. And from here,
Tap.
quick finish. Okay? Now, what if Placido takes his thumb and rotates it downwards towards his feet? Then when you go to apply top leg pressure, it doesn't feel good. If you feel his thumb pointing down towards the feet, we're going to switch into a side-on position. We referred to this earlier in the video as the side supine position. Now from here, we tie up our training partner using any one of the methods that we looked at, 2-on-1, 1-on-1, locked hands, whatever you feel like. And from this situation, look how I take my knee down towards the floor and I lock a half triangle over my training partner's wrist. When he goes to move around, it's locked in place. So from here, we can get good breaking pressure. From Placido's perspective, the best way for him to defend this is to rotate his thumb back up in this direction, in which case we go right back into the moves that we looked at previously with top arm pressure. Let's rotate this way a little bit, Placido. So what we want to know, what we want, and this puts your leg down, what we want in these situations is to be able to play between bottom leg and top leg, depending on where we see his thumb. Make a strong resistant arm. If I see the thumb pointing down towards the feet, that's the time for us to go into bottom leg pressure. I take my knee, invert it down towards the floor, and then hook over the top, like so. And from these situations with the triangle in place, we get a strong breaking pressure. Placido's best chance at defense is to rotate his thumb away from the pressure of the first arm lock done with the bottom leg. So instead, I switch to top leg control, go right back into control here,
Tap.
and there's our break. Done in this way, we can play between bottom leg and top leg based on where we see our opponent's thumb pointing. Lying down on your back, Placido. Remember your first days in Jiu-Jitsu? You were taught Jujigatami. Let's rotate this way a little bit. And you were taught to control the direction of your opponent's hand through the thumb. So when you went to break your training partner's arm, you kept the thumb pointing upwards for strong breaks. We understand that if we don't control the direction of the thumb, that's when opponents can start spinning out and getting away from us. So our whole thing is to control the direction of the thumb to get strong breaking pressure. Exactly the same thing is true at crucifix, from the back crucifix. When he goes to move his thumb around, he points it downwards. We go bottom, invert the knee, and then lock up. And from here, we get very strong breaks. If he rotates the thumb up, then we catch it with the opposite arm, and then we get strong breaks here. Learning the sensitivity to follow the direction of your training partner's thumb is the key to creating strong armbar pressure. There's one more arm lock that we need to look at. We've looked at top arm, we've looked at bottom arm. Now let's look at both of our legs in unison. From a situation where we go over the top with our foot, one of the big dangers we face is our opponent joining his hands. If he can join his hands, that will crush any attempt to get arm lock pressure on our part. So if we do see him connect his hands, the onus is on us always to create a pressure that brings those hands apart. And then we come down here towards the wrist so we can stop him from rejoining his hands. If you don't want him to join his hands, cross over your training partner's wrists. So now when he tries to bring his hands together, the pressure of both of your legs will make it impossible. And this makes it very easy for us to bridge off the floor and get our breaks. Anytime you control with just one arm, there's always a danger you'll connect hands and cause you problems. However, if we go over his wrist with our foot, when he tries to reconnect, it's extremely difficult. And from any given moment, very easy for you to get strong arm breaks. The beauty of crossing your ankles, the crisscross back crucifix, is that when Placido goes to pommel his thumb and move it down, you can still get breaking pressure. Placido, I want you to go rotating your thumb to create resistance. Let's go. Tap. Tap. And you can easily follow your training partner's movement and follow that thumb with two crossed ankles. And at the same time, make it really difficult for him to ever connect his hands defensively. We've been through a lot of material on how to control the back crucifix, and everything's been put in a series of steps, but now it's time to bring everything together in a way which will give you understanding of how to control a tough, resisting opponent in live sparring, because of course that's always the goal in jiu-jitsu. Let's talk now about what I often refer to as the totality principle with regards to the back crucifix. There is no one control from back crucifix which is so decisive that it's enough to control the position overall against a tough, resisting opponent. Rather, there are 8 components. When these are put together as a seamless whole, this is what will enable you to control someone from start all the way through over time into a finish. What I want to do now is take everything we've looked at so far in the video and bring it together into this total picture, which will enable you to lock onto a back crucifix, control a resisting opponent over time, no matter which way they twist and turn, and no matter what their defensive strategy is, and then control over time and work through into a finish. Let's look at these 8 critical principles. What we're going to do is have Placido and Walter demonstrate them. First, I'm going to outline what they are. Please bear with us. This is going to be a somewhat long scene, and we're going to have to go through some important elements here. Everything we've seen, we're going to look at in this section has been described in detail earlier in the video. So if you ever get confused, just go back to an earlier time in the video and you'll see the details fleshed out. We're going to briefly run through the idea of what are these 8 elements, how do they work together, and then once we've done that and you have an understanding of what the 2 athletes are trying to accomplish, then we're going to have some live rolls with Walter and Placido, and you'll get a sense of how they look in actual operation, in actual sparring, and this will make it much easier for you to apply them yourself in a realistic sparring situation. Okay, let's take a basic crucifix position. Okay, so the big idea here is that there are 8 elements of control in that crucifix situation. Let's look at the first one, which is control of your opponent's far arm. Okay, so Placido's head is on this side of the body. This is going to be the far arm. Your basic choice is between top leg control, which Placido has now. Placido could just disengage both legs. So you'll notice that Placido has a knee, which is on top of his opponent's shoulder. Okay, so one knee is on top, the other knee is on bottom. So we're going to take the leg of the top knee and hook it over our opponent's leg like so. So this would be an example of top leg control. We can switch that or substitute it for bottom leg control, or we could control with both of our feet together and lock over like so. This is how we go in to control the far arm. The second focal point of control is your opponent's near side shoulder. If Placido ever lost control of this arm, it would be very easy for Walter to get his elbow down to the mat, and then from here he could easily turn into his opponent, turn away from his opponent, do whatever he wants to do. Okay, so it's very important that Placido always control this bottom shoulder. Now, when we say control the shoulder, what does that mean? It means don't let that shoulder of his touch the mat. There always has to be something underneath his shoulder, forming an obstruction between his shoulder and the mat. Okay, so one good way to do it is a one-on-one grip. The advantage of the one-on-one is it leaves you a free hand to start threatening people's necks. That's why we like it so much. But sometimes your opponent is twisting and